Hi there, it's Sally from Rickety Snippets here, and today I'm making a pockety pop-up insert for my junk journal. It sounds complicated, but it's actually really easy, and it adds a nice bit of movement to a junk journal. And all it takes is 5 folds, and best of all, no measuring. So I'm using papers from the Gold Edition Dragon Junk Journal kit, and I'll stick a link to that below. Anyone that joins the Rickety Snippets VIP list gets 40% off, so I'll put a link to that also below if you want to join up. That said, this is really achievable with any papers, so feel free to use your own. So I've got some bits to embellish the pop-up and the pockets here, and bits of ephemera to go in the pockets. So I'll put all that to one side. So this is all really, whoops, decoration. And then we need 2 pieces for the pop-up itself. Just move that out of the way as well. So one piece, the first piece, so this is the main piece, our kind of base piece that we're going to use. And I've cut it so that it's slightly smaller than the pages that we're going to put it over. So it's the same width, but it's has a bit less height. So it's just going to sit in the junk journal like that. And so when we make the pop-up, it will pop up, but then allow us then to close the pages back up and lie flat in our junk journal. And then I've got a second piece of paper, which is just, again, slightly less deep than that first piece. And so this is a very patterned one. So you want 2 that are kind of quite different from each other, or a bit kind of contrasting. So the first thing I'm going to do is make our folds. So you want to, actually I will score those. So I'm just going to line my ruler up against the edges and then make a couple of score lines, or 1 score line along each edge. And it doesn't matter how wide this is, and it doesn't matter if one's wider than the other really, so you don't need to measure it. And then I'm just going to fold those in. And then out again. That, just run over it with a bone folder. And then we're going to then fold this in half. So line up the edges. I'll just smooth that down. Open it back out. And then we're going to fold again. So we're taking the edge into the centre there and lining it up with that centre line where we've just folded. That. And the same again on the other side. We're going to encourage this one to fold this way, so it pops up in the middle. And then these 2 are going to fold in that way. So what you then have is that. So it will lie on the page like that, and then this middle piece will pop up like that. We open it. So let's put some pockets on it. So I'm going to cut some pockets into it and also lay some on top. I'm going to just cut towards the top here, so I think probably around there. We're going to create a pocket. So I'm just going to cut along there and cut along here. And so I'm leaving probably about 1/2 centimetre either side of each of these lines. So 1/2 centimetre here, so our folded line, 1/2 centimetre here, 1/2 centimetre here, another 1/2 centimetre, and again here. Might be slightly less than 1/2 centimetre. And then I'm going to cut another line underneath, probably around 0.5 centimetre again underneath that one, that, and then I'm going to come down a bit. So I don't know if you can see where that one was, so it's about there, but then I'm going to just come down a little bit more and cut 2 lines again. And then I'm going to take those pieces out. So I'm going to line my ruler up and just make a line to join those 2 up, or a cut to join those 2 up, so that we can take those pieces out. Your edges don't quite meet up, you can just poke at it with your knife until you've got a clean edge. So that's that side, and then here as well. There we are. Got like little letter boxes, and then the same on this side. And once I've done that, I'm then going to come down the page a bit again, and I'm going to make a wider kind of, or deeper pocket here. Just a much bigger opening that time. There we are, and I'll keep these bits intact because I'm going to use those in a bit. Okay, so then we need this piece, and we're going to put a piece behind here, so you can see it peeking out through the gaps. And I'm going to cut a piece that's the same width as this piece in the middle, so that bit to there. Just mark that on the back. So you want that to sit within these lines, so you want to kind of just mark it so it's just within the line, so that it still allows everything to fold nicely. And then so I'm just going to cut that. That, just check that it still folds up, which is fine. And then I'm just going to mark from this side where the top of that pocket is, or just above the top of that pocket, kind of here. It's not a great way of doing it. Let's do it this way up. So line it up, and then yeah, so I'm marking just above this pocket there, and then just above this pocket as well. Okay, and if you want to, well, I'll do it so you can see where I'm going with this. I'm just going to draw lines where I've made those marks. that. And then I'm going to get my glue, and I'm going to put glue all the way around the edge and along these two lines that we've made. And then just reminding yourself which way up it went, so the line sitting above those pockets, and flip it over and then just stick it to the back there. And we will now need to fold that again. Let's fold along there. Move it with the bone folder and fold it back the other way. And what I've forgotten to do is actually put a line of glue down the middle there, so it would have been a good idea to have folded it first and then put the glue there, but I'll just tuck a bit under there because I think that's the only place that it will matter. Just a bit to hold that one down. And then I'm going to create pockets on top with this piece. So I'm just going to measure how wide I want them. So I just want them to sit as a long pocket on top of this flap. So probably about there. And then I want two the same. And for these pieces, we're just going to grab the corner rounder and take the edges off of those, or the corners off. And then I'm going to ink those. So I'm going to stick those down so that one opens that way and the other one opens that way. So just a bit of glue along the bottoms and one of the sides. And then I'm going to use some of the bits that we cut off some of the background papers, or those original papers, to kind of embellish some of this. All right, so these are all the bits. So that's the bit I cut off the top of this to make this a bit shorter. And we had these bits that came out of the pockets. So what I'm going to do with these is grab my hole punch, which is still covered in gold leaf from last week, as is most of it. Everything is a bit shiny this week. And I'm going to just punch out the corners. So then, I don't know if you can see that, I'll link it in a minute and you'll see. But if you take that bite out, you get that kind of fancy edge on it. Let me ink it and you'll be able to see it better. And this is a great way of making like your own labels and things. It's a bit more finished. I think I'm going to put those here in these pockets. So I'll do the same with this one. Go, so I'll stick those down. I've got some fussy cuts, so I think I'm going to stick some of those on top. Oh, he's nice there. dragon, he could go on there. Maybe a flower or something. Let's have a look. I might cut a bit out of this paper actually, give it, feels a little bit like a lot of depth there on that pocket. Let's cut a bit of this off. Yeah, I think I'll stick a bit of that under, not all of it, but just to kind of take into account the length of that pocket. Let's see what that looks like if I'm around the edges of that. Yeah, I think that helps to break it up a little bit. Maybe it's still too long. It's better. There we go. What do you think? A bit more kind of balanced there. I could have also put some ink on that to give it a bit more definition. So I'm going to do the same that I did with these kind of tickety labels that I made. So I'm going to use some of this as well. It's that size. Make them roughly, maybe a little bit smaller than the actual pockets. And then I think I'll make another one, which I'm going to then split to go up here. That, one of those might be slightly bigger than the other one. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing where I take a bite out of the corners and then I'm going to ink those. There we are, so all very mix and matchy. So I'm going to put some bits of ephemera on to dragon it up some more and just maybe tone down some of this pattern. So I might put a strip of this maybe. I guess that's even more matchy, perhaps from this sheet. So this is just one of the collage sheets from the kit. So I might just cut a little strip of that. Stick some of that over there. That's actually a bit wider, a bit deeper. Yeah, that's a bit better. So I'm just going to put those, like, cut a couple of little bits and stick those on top. There, just to tone those down a little bit. So these that I've stuck on, you could make those pockets as well if you wanted to. It might be one too many pockets. And then I think we're going to have a number on this one, so it should be over there a bit. Stick that down here, that'll be better. And over this side, got a round maybe. A bit lost in there, isn't it? I could use that fussy cut. The other dragon. Is there another dragon? There we are. I'm just going to put some bits in these pockets. So I've got this. I love this with the key on it. I think I'm going to use the paper cutter and just cut that in half. And I'm just going to put those in those bottom pockets. That. And they're quite nice as well. They kind of are toning down some of this patterny pocket. And then let's have some dragons in these pockets. So these two, this little tag. There. And perhaps this one, because he's facing him. Yeah. And then in the top here, I'm just going to create some foldable journaling cards. So I'm going to grab this piece of paper again and just cut some strips from it. And I'm just going to measure actually to see, so we don't want them too tall, so they stick out the top of the insert, so kind of about there. I'm going to use one of our bits of ephemera again as a kind of measure of the width. So with this piece then, I'm going to fold it so that it's roughly the width of that other ephemera. Like that. And then I'm going to zigzag it and fold it again here. And then cut that bit off. It's basically two folds like that. So then you can either have your ephemera so it opens up like that, or you can fold it inwards. I might have to cut a little bit off of it that way, but so you can have it folding any way you like, really. It's like a little card. So that's one. I'm just going to neaten up the edges. And then I'm going to take the corners off again, so we've got a nice rounded corner. I'll do the other one, and then I'm going to create a little closure for both of them. There we go. So that one came up a little bit shallower. That's fine. Just tuck that one in there like that. And then I'm going to grab another piece of this patterned paper and just cut a strip off of it. So probably about, if I can get my fingers in there, No, I've got it with my scissors. So I'm cutting it, it's probably about 1 centimetre wide, something like that. And then I'm going to wrap it around. So that's my opening there. And I want a bit that goes over like that, but not right to the end. And then another one that comes over like that. So I'm basically going all the way round with a bit of an overlap here. Let's trim that. And then so on the back, I'm going to stick this. So we've got this overhang from the front. I'm just going to stick that down on the back. And then either from this piece or something else. Let's see. Perhaps that'll be a bit more interesting. I'm going to just cut another strip. Like that. So it's going to sit. That's a bit long. Either side of this. So we just want a little bit of glue, top and bottom. Actually, it would have been quite nice to have rounded that. Let's round it. Not gunking up my corner rounder. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue top and bottom. Stick it over the top, so not right up to the edge. Like that. And then when that's dry, you can tuck that underneath and it'll just make a little closure. So I'll let that dry and then work on the other one. There we are, so they're fairly dry now, and I've rounded the edges of these as well. And then you can just tuck that under there and it makes a nice little closure. Two little journaling cards. You can put in our top pockets. Oh, grab him again. So that's it. So now what we need to do is stick it into the journal, and we need to make sure that this fold in the middle is coming up towards us like that. They're called mountain and valley folds. So you've got a mountain in the middle and two valley folds either side. Just make sure that's all working. And then if we grab the journal, I'm going to stick it in just slightly away from the edge, so that when it's lying flat, you have got this mountain in the middle. So you can decide, you can pull it if you think it'll be, if you'd like it a little bit shallower, you can just move it around wherever you like it, really. And so I'm going to put some glue on these flaps that we created on the sides here. And then try and get it kind of equally distant from the edges there. Before I really pat it down, I'm going to close the journal. Just make sure that that's kind of sitting flat. Just close either side like this. And there you are. Look, ooh, closes up, sits inside nicely, and then pops out. So you get this really three-dimensional element that's really not taking up much room in the journal, so it's not too bulky and quite magical when it opens up. So I hope you have fun with this. I'd be really interested to know whether you like these kind of interactive pages or whether you actually prefer kind of flat spreads in your junk journals. So let me know in the comments whether you're on team interactive spreads or team flat pages. If you have enjoyed this, please tap the like button because it really does help the channel. And next week, I'm going to do something about these straggy ends that are sticking out, these threads at the bottom of the journal. So I'm going to be creating some dangles and making some paper beads. So I'll stick a link on the screen as soon as that's up and running, and I'll see you there. In the meantime, have a great week. Bye for now.